Welcome to Mac and Bleu, where we introduce you to who is building Arizona, bringing you the people and businesses that shape the landscape around us. From economic development and developers, underwriters and lenders, architects and engineers, to the very builders and suppliers that bring it all together. Now let's join our hosts, Robert Johnson and JJ Levenske, aka Mac and Bleu.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mac and Bleu. I'm JJ Levenske, your host, president and co-founder of Bleuwave General Contracting. Today, I have Krista Dossey from Agate Construction on as my guest, or our guest. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty, thought I'd change it up a little bit and try to do more of an icebreaker going forward. So with that, I've got one that hopefully you'll like. Okay, if you could bring back any fashion trend, what would it be and why?
Ooh, okay.
Think deep.
Well, it's actually starting to come back, but probably the 90s skater, baggy jeans, all of that good stuff. And it's just because it's so comfortable.
You're young. I can tell.
Yeah, I am. Let's keep out all the...
Come on, when are you going to go back to our generation?
No more bell bottoms. No more. Nothing over the top.
No beads? No nothing?
No.
All right.
Simple and comfortable.
Perfect. Well, welcome again. I'm glad to have you. Before we get in to the company's kind of stuff, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you raised and grown up and things like that?
Born and raised here in
Arizona.
Native. I'm native.
One of the 20-some percenters or whatever that new trend is.
East Valley my entire childhood, and then got young, married, moved to the West Valley, and I don't think we'll ever leave.
Oh, nice. Now, what about, and this isn't, I always ask this, any formal college or education?
No.
Oh, well,
I was a young mom, so it was straight to work when I stopped being a mom.
That's just fine.
Hold on, full-time, always a mom.
What about hobbies? What do you do when you're not working?
Camping, outdoors, kayaking.
Fun.
Anything outdoors, definitely.
And then, for the audience's sake, so what is your current title?
Trade Partner Relations Manager.
Say that fast 10 times in a row.
TPR.
There you go. And outside of hobbies then, and work, of course, what are you passionate about?
What's coming, the future. I am really passionate about looking into what's going on, whether it's in my industry, we're outdoorsy, so Arizona Game and Fish, looking into what they're working on.
Interesting. I can relate to that.
Growth, education, just what's next.
And how do you feed that?
How do I feed it?
Well, how do you feed? Like you're obviously you're inquisitive on those types of things. So is it engagement through networking? Is it just being involved in the outdoors? I mean, what kind of things do you do to feed that desire?
On my free time, I like to read into it. So I'm always on Arizona Game and Fish's site, seeing what's going on and, being a part of it, reading in all the little groups and who's conversating about what's going on. When it comes to like education and growth, that's obviously because I have young children. I want to make sure Arizona's going to start setting better standards for their futures. So
I like that.
Just more reading.
Okay, so now let's go a little bit into Agate Construction.
Mm-hmm.
How long is kind of give the story of Agate Construction from what you know?
Oh, from what I know. So we're 50 years this year.
Okay.
It was
nice anniversary.
Yeah, it is. Jim was the original owner, and when Jim was getting ready to retire, he reached out to Lou Premack.
Okay.
Lou worked for him when he was young, starting in construction, and Jim kicked him to the curb, told me he needs to get more knowledge, go out there, work for other contractors, learn more about the industry. So when Jim was ready to retire, he reached out to Lou, and Lou reached out to Rick, high school buddy. They're also Arizona born, raised anyways, down in Chandler, and played football together. They went in and purchased Agate just about 6 years ago from Jim, and we've had a lot of growth, lots of growth this last 6 years.
So Agate is more than just a general contractor, correct?
We are.
So you guys have what, a steel division?
Yeah, so it's Agate Steel. It's our sister company.
Okay.
So they're two separate, but same. We work in the same building. We're
Right.
one big team. But yeah, we do steel fabrication and erection as well.
And then as far as the proper Agate Construction, is it commercial only, or what verticals do you guys work in?
Commercial, industrial.
Okay.
I call it automotive retail because we don't do retail, but we are very big with automotive retail.
Okay.
Warehousing, aviation, federal, quite a few.
Oh, nice.
Manufacturing.
Nice. And what size are you? What size are you right now? Like how many employees, plus or minus?
I'd say around 140
For
total.
both
Yeah.
Agate Steel and Agate. Nice. Well, it's a great testament because 50 years in the industry is awesome, and especially in Arizona, that's almost like a lifetime here. So that's encouraging, and it's great to hear the transformational stories of Bleu and Rick taking over from Jim. That's always a better story than hearing the other end of the spectrum, where hey, we went out of business, or we tanked, or there was no succession planning,
Exactly.
and hence we fizzled out. As a fellow GC, it's encouraging to hear those kind of things. I know we have dealt with your organization, not, there's a brotherhood and sisterhood of a lot of the GCs, but on the flip side, I know we've tried to work with Agate Steel in the past on certain projects. So, glad that you were able to be here and represent both yourself and Agate today. So now let's get into a little bit more what you do, which is the fun, which I still can't pronounce. I still can't TPRM. The death by acronym in our world today.
Right.
So talk about how long have you been specifically trained and geared for TPRM, which is I have to keep looking at my trade sheet or my cheat sheet because I still can't get it right, because to me I just call it procurement. But tell me a little bit about like how you got into that, and then what does it mean? Well, let's just start there. Like, how did you get into procurement?
So the trade partner relations, it was Bleu, 100%.
Okay.
So I started at Agate as a contract admin.
Oh,
Never had the background in that before. So, they taught me along the way learned a lot about contracts and insurance. And then just working with Lou and working with my team, he saw my passion for more of the trade side. I have a background with trades. My family's in trades, different industries, but trades. My best friend's in a trade, so I fight for trades, I guess is the best way to say it. So he started introducing me to ASA and a couple of the other organizations just to start making the relationships without knowing where the direction was going. And as I was getting ready to transition out of contract admin, he said, how would you like to just do trade partner relations full time? You're great at it. You love the trades. And as a GC, we need trades. So it just made sense. And I want to say last January.
And I'm sorry, I mixed up those words earlier as far as the procurement. I know I was looking at my cheat sheet, and it was one of the other agenda items we wanted to accomplish today. But so, full disclosure for those of you that don't remember or new listeners, I used to be on ASA's pick committee because of timing. I had to resign, but so I know very much what you're talking about. And Josh was on. Yep. I think he was one of our early guests on representing ASA, which is the Subcontractors Association of Arizona. I botched the acronym again, but anyway, everyone knows what that means. But I think the biggest thing that when I want to get out of this, Krista, is that in a typical company, everyone talks about business development, or will say, hey, our BD or our sales or whatever. And with this new acronym, the Trade Partner Relations Manager, it's a completely different thing.
It is.
Mentioning some other names that are synonymous in what I called the Arizona group, I'm thinking of like Vanessa Cruz, there's a bunch of other people that are out there that I think have really personified how to specialize in this niche market. So for the audience's sake, I think it would be interesting for you to share, because there's no secrets here, is how, like, what have you learned and how can we get better at this? How can other companies find a Krista in their world to help advocate for these things?
So I guess what I see a lot of or hear a lot of is that there's so many big bad GCs and that it's their way or the highway, right? You got to follow my contract, my rules. It is what it is, black and white. And the way our industry is and is going is, as a GC, we can't shove anything down anyone's throat. We have to work as a team. And we are a team. It's 70-80% of what really happens a subcontractor does, not a general contractor. So without our trades, we'd be nothing.
True.
If you don't have those relationships, you're not going to get the bids, you're not going to build the jobs. So we need to, as an industry, work on being partners with each other, really being partners, not just saying we're partners. You need that early buy-in. You need to listen to what they specialize in and how they see it being built. And that's what I see is we can do better at listening and communicating both ways.
So, in your experience then, in this newer role, and I know it's not newer, but the name is kind of newer, and the advocacy is kind of newer. What can you share some success stories, like just recently or in the near past, of where maybe something new came up where you came back and said, all right, team, this is what we're getting from X, Y, and Z, our trade base. These are the things we're going to need to change. Because, again, giving the audience that kind of conviction and help that, hey, you don't have to do this alone. There's a lot of us out there that are trying to do this and effectuate that change. Is there anything you can share?
So, I mean, feedback that I get all the time is that they like having a partner, that it is a two-way street, and that we listen to their buy-in. Where it benefits us as a general contractor is the fact that we do a lot of pre-construction services and design build, and we have trades that now we have relationships with that we can go to and say, how would you do this, so I can get an idea for my early schedule and my early budgets and all of this. You get that partnership where I can lean on you and you can lean on me. So that's a huge benefit of it.
So what are you doing in those early stages to get and retain the trust so they don't feel like you're just bid shopping or using their ideas for free? How do you solidify that?
Well, that's where that relationship comes in. Obviously, there are a lot of projects that are still competitive, and even we contract, we're obligated to bid it out. But being honest about it, like, hey, here's where we're at. Here's what we're working on. Can you help me? We don't ever say we take the lowest number on any of our bids. We want the most full package, right? The person who's going to be a partner in the project. It helps down the road. Right. Anytime we're building anytime we're building and a change comes up or an issue does arise, the people who participate at the beginning and are willing to be that partner at the beginning, you find the same participation in those hard times as well, where it's not a, yep, here's my number, that's it, or nope, not my problem. It's, okay, let's sit down and let's talk about it. Let's solve this problem.
So what are the unique tools that Agate's allowed you to kind of take to market to then build those relationships? I mean, it's one thing to have a personality and go do all those things, but there's something else there. Like, what's in that recipe, Krista, to, again, without giving away any trade secrets?
I don't think there is a trade secret. I really think it is just communicating. Okay. I'm not handcuffed to a desk or just on a phone. I get to go out. I get to talk to people. I get the feedback from my trade partners, and I'm super tied into my pre-construction and operations team. So when I get feedback, the team hears it. They hear what they need to work on. And I feel like we do a really good job at trying to better ourselves. So when we get something that we're not doing the best at or we could do better at, we work on fixing it. We have meetings, we have conversations, and we really do try to do better.
Do you are you tracking it in any way? I mean, not to get into the analytics of it, but for those actuarial types out there, they're going to say, well, are you doing it on a KPI? Are you doing it, tracking all these metrics of the relationships? And I know that's a little deep, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask.
No, I think it's a great question. I think there's room to grow. I mean, this position is still new.
Right.
Newer. Yeah. So finding the best way to measure it, I mean, there's room to improve. It's something I can go back to my team with and say, okay, let's start tracking this.
Right. So I mentioned Vanessa earlier and things like that. I think one of the other things is knowing that there's a support structure out there. It's an
Absolutely.
informal one, but I watch, and when I say all of you, I know that I'm over here in kind of more the management type stuff, but I watch that group that you guys all relate to.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, we're all a bunch of LinkedIn junkies and kind of watch everyone. But just to watch how you guys have grown your kind of circle of influence, I think is profound. So with that, what are some of the, we mentioned ASA, but what are some of the other avenues and tools to where if there's other companies listening right now where they can go, oh, I've got a Krista and we need to expand this too. Where can they find solace in getting with that group?
Oh, there are so many groups out there.
Well, let's mention some.
Yeah, so we've got Westmark, which is West Valley.
Okay.
All of the growth there. You've got the Arizona Builders, AMCA,
The ABA, yeah.
ASA, AGC. I mean, we can acronym it for days.
No, keep going. This is good.
NAWIC, Moms in Business.
Oh, the NAWIC, that's the women's group,
Women's
right?
in Construction,
Right.
National Association of Women in Construction.
Okay.
And then speaking of Vanessa, we've got Vanessa, Katie, Nikki, Julia, all the Moms in Business.
Oh, I haven't heard that one before.
That's a newer one too. And
Moms in Business.
Mm-hmm.
Do you let any boys into that group?
That would be probably a Katie, Nikki, the group discussion, but I couldn't imagine.
I got to spiff or go down that one. I also believe I've seen like NAOP. I know does a bunch of stuff with you guys. There's some other groups. Oh, what is the what's the real estate group that gets together just in the commercial real estate?
CRENAB?
CRENAB, that's the other one I was thinking of because I see you guys post a lot on that too.
And so the Moms in Business group, we actually, with how many of us are together, we're all in different organizations.
Okay.
So if one of us isn't in one, we might be in another one. And it is a great way to network and build those relationships because there have been plenty of times I've called Katie and said, hey, I'm looking for XYZ trade. Do you have anyone you'd refer to me? I feel like the construction industry is small enough, big, but small enough that we all know somebody somewhere. So those referrals are huge.
Oh, we've mentioned it on the show probably 100 times. It's the smallest big town in America,
exactly.
Right? Shoot, I thought of something else that I wanted to ask you. Oh, so it sounds overwhelming to be involved in all these groups. Both, because some you have to do formally, some you can do informally. Yeah. What percentage of a week are you doing just in that, in that arena, as far as like just the networking?
So my goal is at least 3 days a week and trying to spend 2 days in office.
Okay.
Because if I don't spend those 2 days in office, I'm drowning in email follow-ups and things that I missed. But yeah, I'd say at least 3 out of my 5, I'm out there doing something.
So if I go back to more like the proper Agate structure, let's say I'm just role playing here to put it in perspective. So superintendents, project managers, whatever, project directors, project engineers at Agate, they come back and go, hey, Krista, we're struggling with electrical or let's say something like that. Our 2 key trade partners are just overwhelmed. Their backlog is now a year long, and we've got all these projects coming up. Go develop a better, trade-based type thing. Is that typically how it goes in the discussion, or is it somewhat different than that?
That does happen. When I started this, we didn't have a very formal process on it, so we're developing the processes as we go. Our general contracting side, we've constantly are improving. So these are all steps in process, right? And we knew when I started this that there were certain divisions that we were lacking in, whether it's lacking in participation or maybe we only had 1 or 2 trade partners that were playing ball with us. And those were definitely my target areas just starting.
Got it.
But that doesn't eliminate all the other divisions and people that I build relationships with too. So even if we were great in concrete and needed drywall, I still reached out to concrete trade partners because you never know. You never know. People are busy, and you don't know who the next best partner is going to be in any division.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Bleuwave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Bleuwave to get it done right the first time.
So I'm sure, in your role and in these conversations, I'm sure you've heard some pretty honest feedback from all of our trade partners. Mm-hmm. I think myself and the audience's sake would love to hear some of those. What are we doing well and what are we doing poorly from the GC side? So can you speak to some of those things that you're getting feedback on, especially in the recent times in market with the demand the way it is?
Yeah. So most people are going to tell you the bad when you're asking for honest feedback. Right. And a lot of what I hear is there's not enough communication in the pre-construction side on knowing where their bids are, where the follow-up is, how far off they were. That's something we've been focusing on, is making sure we're doing better at communicating things.
So they want the data as well.
They want the data. They want to know where they hit. How can they stay competitive if they don't get the feedback? Communication, across the board.
Imagine that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is or what part of the project we're in. It's communication. So as a whole, I think that's the best area for us to continuously improve on, is communicating. What we've done good is taking those steps to do better each time. So lessons learned. What did we do wrong? What can we do better? I've gotten a lot of feedback from people that, they say something to our construction manager about, hey, XYZ FOM didn't really send this in a timely manner. Well, now our construction manager is going to take that piece of information, go back and coach and train and do better. So we really do work on improving ourselves.
No, that's good. I was just thinking, when you kept saying communication, what does that always come back to be the nexus of everything?
Because we're in a generation of texting and emailing. Right. Pick up the phone. It's not so scary.
What about what struggles are they having? Other than the obvious ones, but you're kind of quote unquote lifting up the skirt to a lot of these companies where they're probably going to divulge a little bit more to someone in your capacity and your role. What are their other struggles right now? So
I think it is just all the obvious stuff. A labor shortage means that we have less people doing more work, same work, and we are busier than ever as an industry.
Right.
We have so much work out there and not as many people to do it, it seems like, or not as many skilled people to do it. So you've got a gap between the old school and the new school generations, and getting that knowledge to flow from here to here so we can still be great builders.
Are you seeing that, because I get this occasionally, that, when you get more into what I call the GC fraternity sorority discussion of, hey, we know you guys all have software, but it's like everyone has 20 different styles, whether it's Procore or this or that, as far as the project management stuff. Do you hear a lot of that as well?
Yeah, there's definitely some systems I've heard feedback are just spam mail.
Yeah.
They just brush it off. I think being more personal in our approach is probably going to help improve that on the general contracting side, trying to be as personal as possible.
I think there's another one, and this, I'm going to be very open and honest about this one. I think there's a struggle between generosity and being genuine and then being patronizing. I'll give you an example of, like when all of us do like lunch and learns or job site lunches or, appreciation days where you shut the job down, have a food truck, those kind of things. I think everyone does a really good job of it. But there are days where I think it goes in a disingenuous manner where it just feels like, hey, they're just trying to buy our friendship.
Checking a box.
Yeah. And so do you have any opinions on that or anything that you're seeing that like what's really done when it's done well, what does it look like versus when I don't want the check the box thing? Because I think we all try. And I'm guilty. I've failed at this too, where you do it for all the right reasons, and it ends up being like, yeah, they're just trying to buy my friendship or buy our loyalty, and that isn't what it's about.
I think it's being sincere in the reasoning. When you set something up, you really have to be sincere about it and not make it just a checkbox. I think things that make it more genuine are when the people who should be there show. I think making an appearance, making a presence, not just a hi-bye situation or here's lunch, we appreciate you, bye, but actually being genuine and showing up. And it's hard. Everyone's busy, but then it's a simple like, hey guys, we're really busy, but I'm still here and I'm still showing up because you guys do mean a lot to us and we really do appreciate you. I think follow through. Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Another one I just thought of is, and some companies, again, back to our circle of influence in the Valley here, I think there's some tremendous companies out there that really recognize their trade base too.
Absolutely.
Whether it's their, monthly e-broadcast, recognition, newsletters, whatever, they'll call out a trade partner in addition to their employees, but call out a trade partner of, hey, they went above and beyond. I think we see it a lot more on safety, but not so much just on the day-to-day operations. Is there anything that you've seen lately that supports that?
Well, I do see it all the time for safety, but I do think there's room to improve as an industry. I think those personal call-outs are great for our trade partners, especially when you do have someone who's doing well. The only way as an industry, if we know someone's doing well, is if someone else tells us. We don't see it as much. We see the finished project, final product, but we don't get to see all the steps in between on who took the time to make that happen.
Again, back to the group that you got, back to what we were talking about with the networking group. Have you heard have there been any specific stories or testimonials that really stand out in that regard that you can think of?
I work with so many amazing trade partners that they're all personal for me.
Right.
I have a lot of great trade partners who've gone above and beyond.
I didn't mean it that way. I meant like, again, if I can use the Vanessa group as an example, like when you guys are together going, oh, that was a great idea. That's what I'm talking about more. Like I'm just trying to give the audience some tools to where they can be inspired by our podcast today, in the conversation between you and I going, darn it, I can do a better job of that. That's what really I'm trying to get to.
I don't think I have anything specific that stands out on that other than...
We'll interrupt this at any time. If it
it will pop in. I know.
Hey, JJ, I remember this because I think, like I said, we do the lunches. We do, I made reference to the newsletters and the call outs, and I see them, and I'll call out a couple. I'll mention some names right now. I'm thinking of like Wilming on the safety aspect.
Absolutely.
I consistently see them on social media always calling out their trade partners on their safety type stuff, and I think that's a testament. And I think we could all do a better job of doing those kind of things.
I agree.
And there's some other ones in that realm too.
I think if we had, I don't know about every other general contractor, but I know in my company, our field staff isn't so LinkedIn-ish.
Right.
They're not into it as much. And I think hearing it from them, I try my best to relay what I hear to my trade partners. But having our field team get on there and say, hey, so-and-so from so-and-so drywall just killed it today, I think that might be helpful too. But there's a little...
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head as we can go, I have I'll call it a stigmatism because there's not enough time in a day to be on all platforms. I'm old, so LinkedIn is good for me, right? But you might be a TikTok or Instagram, Snapchat. We can broadcast those over other social media platforms as well. So again, listeners out there, viewers, don't be shy. Take whatever media is comfortable for you and just do it.
Yeah,
because it'll cross reference eventually.
And you're going to stand out as someone who recognized them. I mean, everyone appreciates getting recognized.
You're right. The media doesn't matter. Medium. It's what is that message, right?
Agreed.
Well, that was a good little. I'm glad we went down that rabbit hole for a while. We brought up safety for a little bit. What you're actively involved in the safety culture as well, correct?
I think everyone in the industry is. You
Right.
can't work in construction and not be. Safety's huge.
Right.
It's important. It needs to constantly be talked about.
And what, again, putting you on the spot, what have you seen any changes or new approaches lately that allow more engagement? Because that's always been the key is engagement.
Engagement. I've heard of some amazing companies like On Site that comes out. I think there's one called First Response Team. There's a few of them those are great new resources. I hadn't heard of those before.
And what do they do?
They're instead of going to a clinic, they actually come on site to treat. So it's good for whoever needs help and for companies to make sure, their teams on site are getting treated immediately and not having to sit through, an hour, 2-hour wait, however long it may take. So I've heard of some awesome things like that. Other things about safety I heard they're doing helmets now instead of hard hats.
Yep.
That was interesting.
You've seen a lot of companies switch to that.
It makes sense.
And forgive my ignorance here because
No, it's fine.
But I saw, I describe it as if you saw more like the European model and the Far East model, where you typically would see let's use Germany, for example, or a Japanese construction site, they would have more of the helmets. I guess it's better fitting. There's a chin strap and all those kind of things.
Strap.
But yeah, there was a local company. I can't remember. I don't think it was it you guys?
I know we are going that direction. I'm not an expert in safety.
No, there
either.
was another
Penta just did their safety, and I know that it was mentioned there as well.
There was someone here just recently that they just posted that they had switched 100% to those too.
That's awesome.
Now I was with, and I call out to a fellow podcaster here, Brian Owens from Busing the other day. I was part of another podcast with him, and I loved what they were doing. They have. For those of you that know them, they're civil contractors and do tons of horizontal work. But they had a cool thing. They call it their BEST program. And Brian's going to kill me for not knowing what that acronym means because I death by acronym again. But they do. It's really cool where they have those cool carbon fiber hard hats.
Oh, yeah.
But what they do is when someone meets the call out where they're employee of the month or whatever that Busing's best, they give them a ghosted the carbon fiber hard
awesome.
hat, which is way cool because then it's that's like getting a tattoo.
I know.
It's like, hey, I'm wearing the badge of honor. And I thought that was really cool because that promotes the culture,
Agreed.
all those kind of things. And it just so happens it ties right in with what they do safety-wise. And so Brian gave some tremendous examples of what Busing's doing. And so I encourage, again, if you listeners are out there, I know he's very approachable. Brian Owens is his name. And he's, not only in their safety department, but in their culture department, which I think is awesome.
Those tie hand in hand.
Yeah,
sure.
I think that's a good delineation that we're trying to go down today is when you look at the old paradigm of a company where, Krista, you might have been, in the old days, you would have been, are you either in business development or are you over here in project management? And now companies are looking at someone like you and going, hey, I always use this thing off of Jerry Maguire. Who's my ambassador of Quan, right? Between Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise when they're doing that in the movie Jerry Maguire. But that's so true is companies need that ambassador of Quan to meet culture, safety, operations, business development, all of it. Yeah. Because even think, and I'm going to put you on the spot, but I assume in Agate, you've got someone that formally does your business development with the customers out there. But I'd be surprised if at some point you're not a critical piece with them in ascertaining that work where they come in and go, Krista, come with us to the interview because we want to tell them what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if they know, look at that potential client. Let's say there's 3 GCs interviewing and you come in with that, you're probably going to crush that interview a little bit better because now you've got that trade partner liaison there going, wow,
Exactly.
these guys are doing that. The other two companies aren't doing that. They're just hard bidding them. And owners are sophisticated enough. They know in this market, if people aren't building that base, then it's just
There's
a
no
numbers game
product,
after.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, and the whole liaison, you were kind of touching on it, on the safety being across all platforms, right? We have so many different areas in construction. People can be in accounting or in field or project management, pre-con. It's all over the place, but literally every single person needs to understand safety is theirs. It's for everyone in the company. Everyone should be passionate about it. I know we shut down job sites twice a year and get everyone in a room just to talk safety. I know there are so many companies out there doing it, and the more we can talk about it, the more we can make it a priority, the better our culture will be, which, going back to education, right? There's this whole notion people don't want their kids working in construction because it's dangerous. We're fixing that. That's what we're fixing, and we need to keep pushing that because we want to build a better future for everyone.
So I'm circling two questions into one now. So back when I was asking you, what you're getting as feedback from the trade partners, as I go down that just with the safety thing, are you getting any feedback from them saying this is what we need to do better? And if you say communication, I'm going to go, well, I know that, but be more specific.
I'm trying.
Come on, Krista. But again, trying to be a catalyst here for the listeners and the audience so everyone gets this kind of advocacy and this encouragement of, hey, you don't have to do this alone.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to pose the question a different way. Have the trade partners been specifically asking you anything about what's going right or what's going wrong with safety as us as a general contracting group in whole?
Well, I will say,
other than communication.
Okay, I'll stop with the communication. But
No. We're going to keep emphasizing that. But again, everyone wants to know what else. What else other than communication?
Well, I'll say you have different classes of your trade partners, just like you have different classes of your GCs. So something that stands out to me when I meet a new trade partner is what they buy into. Like, if they bring up safety, then I know that that's important to them. And that's something that I make sure I talk about too, because safety is really important to us. So
are you finding they're more scared of it, like a regulatory type?
That's going to be 50-50, but that depends on the trade partner too.
Yeah.
If you have a trade partner like Canyon State Electric, I know they're very passionate about safety.
Right.
That stands out to me. We talk about it. We've had conversations about it. But you can have XYZ concrete over here that you don't know, and the first thing out of their mouth is, oh, do you make me do all those safety stand downs and trainings every morning? That you kind of get a feel for who your trades are.
Right. And I think that's an important discussion because, again, I've been on both sides of that spectrum, and I think we need to take those second ones, XYZ concrete. That's where we as a whole all have to invest more. The Canyon States, yes, they should be, back to my saying, they should be the ambassadors. Like, we should look to them as the model and the leadership. But again, instead of talking down to and diminishing the concrete example, we should say, hey, look it. If you want to be like them, if you want to be successful and you want to be safe and you want to bring everyone home every night, look at what they're doing.
Exactly.
We will help you. We will give you the platform and we'll be catalysts for that. But you have to do these things at a minimum. Okay, if you want to go more, we can help you get there. But if we don't use the Canyon States as an example, they're going to think of it as just that the GC market is just this big group of henchmen that are trying to do it. It's like, hey, no, we're trying to make sure you, not only you, but all your employees go home safe.
And that goes on to your job sites too, because, I feel like every general contractor out there is going to have some form of XYZ concrete in their trade.
Well, we all do. That's just an evolution.
It just is, right?
Yeah.
So even in our field team, taking those people under their wing and explaining why it's so important to us and why we want them to go home safe, and, that it's not just to check boxes. It really is because we care. And that, again, goes back into the partnership. You care about your partners. You don't just, all right, do it, get it done now. You care about them. And safety means that you care.
Right.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Bleuwave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Bleuwave to get it done right the first time.
Is there, so in your role, thinking about like projecting out the next year, is there any like unique initiatives that you have either for yourself or what Agate has asked you to do that you would like to share with the audience? Like, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up right now because I was like, okay, it's cool what you've done, but like, Krista, where are you going? And like, what have you said is you kind of see some of your own goals that you could share with the audience?
My goals would be, I want to make sure as I keep growing with Agate Construction, because I'm definitely growing with them, let me tell you, that I don't ever stop trying to do better.
Okay.
So implementing better processes, communication between not just my
That's
trades,
good.
but
That's
communicating with my team, making sure that the information my trade partners give me, I give back, and that I find ways to improve us as well. So when I hear something not so great about Agate and I go back to my team, I make sure my team follows through and makes those changes so I can go back to that trade partner and say, look, we're actually fixing it. So that's stuff I want to keep working on, and I want to keep improving Agate as a whole. Like I want my team to grow too.
Well, I was just as you were describing that, I was thinking back to my short involvement with ASA and the PIC program, which is Partners in Construction.
Absolutely love it.
If I look at, and that, by the way, that is a great committee, and I still look at everyone on that committee as a great peer group. I look up to everyone, and you know most of the people there. But we needed more of you in that role to bring those issues back. I think we were at, I'll never forget, I think we were at Hensel Phelps or Sunt's office one day where we did the issue processing with this. I was before you became active, and that was probably one of the most engaging days that we ever had, where the trade bases, our trade partners brought it up, and then there was, like myself, at each table was one representative from one of the GCs in town, and we issue process all those kind of things. That was some of the most sincere and genuine conversations that I had in the entire time of ASA. And I would encourage you, I'm challenging you, keep that ball rolling. Because speaking on behalf of that peer group that I'm just hopefully I can get back into it. It's just a time commitment right now.
I'm already on it. So
yeah. So anyway,
come back.
you know what I'm saying though is there are some wonderful individuals there that are really trying to change that. And so the more that you and your group challenges that, the greater we can effectuate some change and some progress in that arena. So yeah, kudos to you, and Josh, if you're listening, keep challenging everyone on both sides of that equation.
No, Partners in Construction's great. I think having more, not just Partners in Construction, we need more groups like that. We need more groups where we have the trade partners and the general contractors, engineers, designers. We need to have open conversation on how we improve as a whole.
And I feel naive for not knowing this. I'm pretty sure ABA does a lot of that as well.
Absolutely.
I know there's committees and forum groups over there that are trying to do the same thing. So that advocacy is just huge in our industry.
Agreed. Absolutely agree.
What haven't I asked you? What else would you like to share?
Oh, man.
I'm not going to ask you like what's your favorite color, but
oh well, teal. But anyways,
teal.
No.
That's a unique answer. I like that.
Okay. No. I think we touched on a lot of great topics. I think there's so much room for Arizona to grow, so much room for our industry to grow, not actually build, but do better. We need to leave a better place for the next generation. We need to set up all the right tools for the next generation coming up. I'm in this like gap between old school, new school, which is so hard to admit.
You're the fabric that keeps it all together.
I'm right here. So I've got old school and new school. But, you know, we need to find a way to get them to connect. Get them to connect and grow and keep doing better.
I just thought of something else. Okay, so you've got this unique situation where you have, you know, Agate Construction, Agate Steel. Mm-hmm. So you basically have a beta sitting right next to you all the time.
It's the best.
Well, I'd be curious to, again, for the audience sake, I think everyone would be interesting is like, how has Agate Steel reacted to the transformation? And I realize it's not a transformation, but let's call it a growth process.
Okay.
How has Agate Steel reacted to Agate Construction with like your role, and this kind of maturation?
You know, I would say Agate Steel is the reason my position exists.
Oh.
Because
do tell.
Being even in past experience, being in a trade, when you don't have that go-to person who's fighting for you, it's very hard to have conversations. You're going to hope you get the best super or the best field operations manager or the best project manager, because having someone that you can communicate with and have open conversations with is what makes or breaks a project. And seeing that, being Agate Steel in the subcontractor role, I'm sure that's where this idea came from is, look, if we just had someone we knew in that company we could reach out to no matter which project it is, and they're going to help us, you know, that's what I'm here for. I tell my trade partners all the time, reach out. I don't care what it's about. I don't care if I'm involved or if it's some project in the future, in the past that you're working on now. If you have a question, you can't get a hold of somebody, just call me. My phone's on. I'm always here to help, and I never mind walking into somebody's office and, hey, I just talked to so-and-so. Why aren't you getting back to them? Where's this? I don't mind being that nice nag to get things done if I need to be.
Like that.
Nice nag.
We could go one step further. A polite BIH. Yeah.
Try really hard. Nice nag.
No, you know that I was visualizing that whole scenario as you talked, because thinking about the field ops and how much that is what drives them nuts, and that they can just have that liaison and that advocacy. Yeah, I give you a shout out that you and the other companies that have taken this relations manager or trade partners relation manager role on. I wish there was a shorter acronym, to be honest with you. Should just call it some sort of
relations, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, it's good though. It's long overdue, and I know a lot of companies have done it before, but to make it more formal, are you finding? I guess here it prompts me to ask another question. Are you finding you and this group of your peers that are into this and your networking and stuff? Are you finding any other formal groups nationwide or training that it can help you in this? Because it almost feels like you guys are just kind of building this as you're flying it. I haven't
found.
Okay, well that's my challenge to you.
I haven't even found anyone who has the same title as me. It's so new.
Right.
I think it is just trying to spread the word on why it's important.
Right.
And I'm sure we'll start seeing more TPRMs popping up. And I think it's just that room for improvement. It's something we can do as an industry to do better.
Well, I'm going to challenge you to push that envelope. Okay. Because, no, I'm serious, because thinking about like, okay, who's, like thinking around when convention time happens, especially like everyone goes to Vegas or Orlando or whatever, World of Concrete, this, that, the other thing. It's to find these breakaway groups that can help in a more, because as this role grows in other organizations, you guys need a support structure too.
Absolutely.
So finding those people that can have both the leadership and training side to help augment that, I think is imperative for you guys to look into. So I don't know. That's me just putting my dad hat on, going, Krista, go tackle this.
I'll say, because it is very similar to business development, right? That's upstream. I'm going more downstream. If you want to separate it that way.
That's a good analogy.
there are a lot of resources out there that way or out there for that. I do lean on a lot of my friends who are business development and ask them how they do things and what works and what doesn't work, because it's my guide on, okay, so how can I get this to work for what I'm doing now? So I guess that is the best. There are resources. It's just you have to tweak them a little bit to fit the role.
I think that's a very fair and supportive answer. Again, if I was a listener right now, I'd be like, oh, great idea. I could go to our BD department person, whatever, and go, hey, could you help me? Because you're right. The approach is a lot of the same tools. Okay.
And that's something I've learned working at Agate specifically, is that sometimes the tools I need don't even exist. So I've got to find things around me that can work that I just have to modify. I have to be solution driven, right? And that's the best thing we can be as people, is let's work for solutions, not problems. Like, here's my problem, but here's really my solution to what I need. So being way more solution driven.
I think that's a refreshing approach. There's a day goes by that
there's always problems everywhere.
I'm thinking of a conversation I had in the last week and a half where it wasn't a direct, was an indirect of, quit bringing me your solution or problems, bring me a solution. And as I was listening, going ding, 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 ding.
On a personal growth, this last year, I probably have grown more than any year previous. And I was presented have you ever thought about doing management option? And I really struggle, because the few people I've trained or worked with, I've realized there are just some things that isn't common sense.
Right.
And being solution driven is one of them. I see a lot of people who say, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this. Well, don't come to me with all these I can'ts. Tell me, how are you going to make it happen even though you don't have this? Let's be solution driven. It makes sense.
Well, with that, unless you've got something else, I just wanted to, is there anything else you wanted to share?
I can talk forever. So if you want me to ramble, I can ramble.
No, I don't want you to ramble, but if there's issues we haven't covered that you feel are very important to this kind of trade partner relations manager role, the culture that it represents, I mean, feel free, but
no,
I kind of feel like we've covered it at a high level.
Yeah, we hit a lot of big points in it, and I think it's, again, continuous improvement. Let's keep doing better. Let's keep seeing these things happen throughout the industry. That way, as a whole, we can do great.
Well, with that, again, thank you, Krista, for joining us. For those of you listening and watching, I can tell you that if you reach out to Krista Dossey, Dossey, on LinkedIn, wherever, again, Agate Construction or Agate Steel, the group, and when I say group, the group and friends that she surrounds herself with in this arena, in kind of the Arizona AEC market, they're really, really, really good at what they do, and they're very resourceful. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. I guarantee you they'd be happy to let you in to their social circle and guide you on helping your organization find this TPRM role. And I still had to look down because I can't get the letters straight. It must be my Les Dixie or whatever I have in my brain. But thanks again, Krista. Appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me on.
Until next time, thanks for watching Mac and Blue.
You've been listening to the Mac and Blue Show, brought to you by Torrey Contracting and Bleuwave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Blue podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow Robert Johnson and JJ Levenske on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in live every first and third Thursday at 3 p.m. as we continue to introduce you to the people building Arizona. Walt Disney said, "You can dream, create, design, and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it requires people to make the dream a reality." Until next time, make it a great day.